handed to 9 leaders of a failed bid to declare an independent state in 2017. Unions have also called a general strike against low wages and labour reforms. The acting Prime Minister says his government will act firmly to guarantee security ahead of Spain's second election this year. With more, here's Daniel Castro, president of the Catalan Centre of Victoria. Daniel, thanks so much for coming in. So what's your reaction to seeing the pictures from Spain overnight?
Well, I guess to some degree they were expected. I guess after the resolution of the Supreme Court, no one could not believe that something will happen. I think the question here is the extent of these actions and for how long they're going to go. I think no one knows what's going to happen. But what is happening, I guess, to a certain degree, it's expected, for sure.
But the action does seem to be ramping up. It's the third night. Do you hold fears that these protests are just going to become increasingly violent?
No, I don't think so. Look, the violence thing is in everyone's mouth and thoughts, but I guess people resort to violence when there is nothing else left with, and to a certain degree, it's also understandable that people will be upset and they need to do something about it. What can they do? Like, people has voted, people has demonstrated the things that have been happening, and I think the measure of frustration, it's really easy to put on the news, like the picture of something burning, and there will be few people actually acting violently. But that, I don't think that represents the majority of what the Catalan people wants to do. But at the same time, it does represent that there is a portion of people that may be so upset that they need to resort to violence because they don't see any other way of behaving.
Okay. So these protests, as we've said, were sparked by the jailing of the Catalan separatist leaders at the start of the week for sedition. But has the independence movement, though, been waiting for something like this, waiting for a trigger to make their presence felt once again?
Yeah, look, this is like another stone in the process, you know. Like it is true that it had spark, but the origin of this probably later anger will be from what happened in October 2017 when we tried to do the referendum and it got banned using violence. Like let's talk about all types of violence. That was a violent act from the Spanish police and storming into polling stations to not allow a referendum. For the people here in Australia, it's very easy to feel frustrated as well. Like, we all have colleagues that are Scottish. Like, well, we're definitely like second-class citizens, you know? In Scotland, they did a referendum, and all what we were asking is for the same thing. Now, the resulting of that is it's actually people being in prison, people being in exile, and then having a part of the population upset to the point that they resort to violence because there is nothing else to do.
What do you make of the police response, Daniel?
Oh, look, it's as expected, and it's awful, and it's horrible. But not only the Spanish police, but also the Catalan police. You know, like, I think we need to make sure that there is a degree of responsibility from everyone. Spain is reacting as you would expect, as a country that's not. I mean, in my opinion, it's like the degree of democracy. Like, oh, it's a bit doubtful. And then the Catalan government as well. Like on last time that people went to the airport, the Catalan government was supporting the protests, but then sending the police. I mean, there is a massive responsibility of the Catalan government as well on what's happening. So we should actually pinpoint whose responsibility is. And yesterday night, actually after midnight, I think was the Catalan president just said like, oh, we need to stop this. Like, well, you have part of the responsibility of what's going on, especially by directing the police to behave in a certain way. So there's definitely a shared responsibility here.
Oh. So how much real support, Daniel, is there now for Catalan independence? So as the referendum 2017, which was declared illegal, that showed 90% of Catalan voters backed autonomy from Spain, but less than 50% of people turned out to vote. So what's the real level of support amongst the general Catalan population?
No one knows. No one knows. It will be silly to make any prediction. It's absurd. It's like, there's no way that no one can be certain about these numbers. And the only thing we're asking, like, well, let's do it. Let's vote it. Like, there is some people that say that even in 2017 we would not get through. Like, I'm clearly, obviously, in favor of independence, but we need to be able to count ourselves, and we haven't. And there was a majority of independentist parliaments in the Catalan government, but they haven't been acting on it, you know. So it's difficult to know where we're going to go next from here because we don't know how we are. Spain is not going to sit to negotiate anything because that's it's the culture. Like, it's been years and years of not behaving that way. So I don't think we have any hope of making sure that Spain will sit on the table to negotiate anything. So my question or my thought is like, so what next? Like, what's going to happen next? There's disturbing like riots or whatever you want to call happening. We don't know for how long it's going to go. And to a certain degree, it's like, well, that's people's reaction. What do you expect when you put in jail? I mean, just remember, there is people in jail and in exile, like some politicians, that are there because people ask them to do something. And actually, in that instance, I will actually question like their ability to carry out the duty as a public elected representative. Like they didn't go through the independence. We had the moment, like we could have done it, and they didn't. So they need to be responsible, partially responsible about all what's happening. That
Daniel Castro, we have to leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you.